Hello, Cinecoven. This is your Silver Nitrate Witch, Isabelle, joining you today for another bit of movie magic. Now, I hope you're not anything like me in this respect, because it honestly sucks, but sleep has really been evading me as of late. I just found out I have severe sleep apnea, so that's been fun to deal with, and holy cow, did you know how much bad sleep messes with, literally every other aspect of your health? I've been stressing a lot about it, if you couldn't tell, which honestly probably hasn't helped the situation, but I digress. Anyway, anytime I think too much about sleeping and dreaming, one obvious film comes to mind, which is the 2010 mindfuck of a movie, Inception. So if this was at all on your radar during its heyday 15 years ago, oh my god, 15 years ago, ugh. You, like me, likely had a few months of time where you were obsessed with it as I was, reading theories and explanations online, watching until the end of the credits to see if you could hear the top fall over, trying to figure out how to lucid dream, Googling every bit of information about Marianne Cotillard. If you weren't as into it as I was, I will try my best to explain what you missed, but boy, it's a doozy. Here we go. So directed by Christopher Nolan and starring names such as I said before, Marianne Cotillard, Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, and Elliot Page. What a cast list. It takes place in a world where some folks have access to technology and the training to enter into the dreams of others, which of course in the movie immediately becomes a weapon of capitalism because obviously a team of these people who are called extractors are basically professional dream infiltrators who perform corporate espionage, and they are led by Dom Cobb, played by DiCaprio. The team in the movie is hired at the beginning to do the opposite of their usual scam, where instead of stealing information from somebody, they are asked to go in and plant an idea into someone's subconscious, which hasn't really been done before. It's really complicated. They think they figure out a way to do it, but of course, because it's a movie, they are met with way more danger and shenanigans than they bargained for when they actually get into this guy's brain. I'll leave it at that. There's way more complicated everything going on in this movie, but that's the basic gist. And let's just say it's not something you can just watch casually in the background. It is the kind of thing that requires you to pay attention. So no knitting during this movie, okay, everybody? Anyway, looking more into the history of the movie, Nolan actually conceived the idea for Inception after wrapping on his 2002 film Insomnia. I mean, come on, right? Which was about an accused dirty cop who suffers from, can you believe it, guilt-ridden insomnia. And he pitched it as a horror film. I wouldn't necessarily call it a horror film. Maybe a psychological thriller, maybe action movie, I don't know. But the original idea was for it to be a horror film about people who stole dreams. And the concept was based around the idea of lucid dreaming. So if you're not familiar with lucid dreaming, it's an idea that states that any person can basically train themselves to realize when they are in a dream, and thus gives them the ability to change the dream as they are in it because they are aware that they are dreaming. Now the extractors on Cobb's dream infiltration team don't necessarily use magic to steal into the dreams of others or to be able to lucid dream themselves in order to do so. And there is actually quite a bit of brain science that tells us how we can try to lucid dream ourselves. So for example, it's been shown that the language centers of your brain are not as active when you're asleep, which makes the reading of any kind of text extremely hard while you're dreaming. So the theory is, if you're able to notice that you cannot seem to read something no matter how hard you try, it's a sign that you're dreaming. And so once you notice that you can't read something and you realize that you are dreaming, you could then change the dream that you're in theoretically. I, for one, never noticed this while I'm dreaming, and I only realize it the next day when I'm remembering my dream, oh, oh, that's why I couldn't seem to read my course schedule, and I kept missing all my classes, and I couldn't tell any of the room numbers apart, and I couldn't read the time on the clock. Though, honestly, in that instance, the real clue I was dreaming should have been the fact that I was back in junior high, even though I'm 32. But, yeah. Anyway, but lots of witches out there, myself included, have spent a lot of time working on magic to assist you in sleeping peacefully, which is honestly the first step toward being able to lucid dream. You won't dream if you don't sleep deeply or if you wake up a lot throughout the night. So unfortunately, taking a hard look at your sleep habits is kind of in order first. But thankfully, there are a lot of magical tips that might help. A ritual is a first good step toward a peaceful night, and we witches love a bit of ritual and routine, of course. A good first step is to mindfully prepare your space. And this doesn't necessarily have to involve magic. If your bedroom or bed isn't a restful place to be in, it stands to reason that it won't be a restful place to sleep. So do what you can to make it a more relaxed environment. So again, this isn't really necessarily magic, but I'm a fan of a bit of turn down service myself, where you kind of just treat your bedroom like a fancy hotel. Right before you get into bed, fluff up your pillows, turn down the covers so the bed is ready for you to crawl into, make the lighting cozy and atmospheric, Some magical properties that you can use are to use some scents to make your room a peaceful place. These could be any scents that you yourself personally find relaxing, but ones that have magical properties that are meant to create relaxation or to promote good sleep are things like lavender, sandalwood, and ylang ylang. And also, it's again, just referring to sleep habits, important to identify any other things that make you feel calm and relaxed. So this could be a shower or a bath. If you want to fill it with a bit of magical intent, you could do it with some specific purpose, like using, again, a soap or a body wash that has one of those calming scents to it. Or I'm a big fan of a shower spell, which involves just kind of a brief incantation that you repeat as you're washing all the soap off, that kind of helps to encourage you to wash the day away. Something else that can be useful is sort of visualizing as you're doing this incantation that the day is actually washing off of your body and kind of swirling down the drain. Something else that could be useful would be a cup of tea with herbs that are good for relaxation. First of all, the ritual itself, if you do it often enough, will kind of just instill in your brain like, oh, it's time for bed. But then, of course, there's also some herbs with magical properties that are good for instilling sleep, like chamomile, valerian root, or lemon balm. Or, again, just speaking of ritual, even just a good bit of guided meditation could help get you into the headspace you need to be able to have a more peaceful night of sleep, which could then, again, get you into a more deep sleep, which could allow you to dream. Unfortunately, when it comes to the figuring out you are dreaming, the lucid dreaming part, I don't really have a lot of information for you, but there's lots of great practitioners out there who do. However, some important things I want to note for responsible spell casting. In doing some research to find some information about spells for lucid dreams, I was finding a large number of practitioners who were suggesting candle magic, like lighting a sleep candle. And no offense to them, but to me, lighting a candle before bedtime sounds like a catastrophically bad idea. So if you're going to dive into any of that kind of research for yourself, I would highly recommend avoiding any fire hazards when you are tired. Okay? And then the other thing I would also want to state for just responsible witchcraft is to be sure not to ignore your own health or any kind of medical issues. As I said at the beginning, I just found out I have sleep apnea, and honestly, sleeping with a CPAP has done wonders to improve my sleep and also my dreaming. I haven't had a nightmare in like 3 days. That's a record for me. So if you notice that falling asleep, staying asleep, or your quality of sleep is on the poor or like really bad side, talk to your doctor to be sure it's not something more serious than, a good cup of tea with some intention stirred in is going to fix. However, if you're just aiming to do some cool dream-changing tactics or a spot of dream stealing with Leo DiCaprio, make sure to give these rituals a little bit of a try. You can find your Silver Nitrate Witches on various online platforms at LJ Valenza and at Bellang303. Thanks so much to Fine Motor for the use of their music. You can check out more about the band at finemotormusic.com. Thanks for listening. Stay witchy, keep watching movies, and have sweet dreams.